Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk about 5 things I would like to be removed from Football Manager. Now, some of these are just personal preference. Some of these things you might love. This is just my list. I'd love to hear your lists in the comments below. Some of it, because Football Manager, every iteration, it adds something on, it revamps something. And I think there's a few things that just kind of get left behind that we just don't need in the game. And also a couple of things that really, really annoy me. So let's talk about it. Let's have a chat. So in no particular order, number 1 on my list here is loan restrictions. And what I mean by that is this is a very recent thing, when you go to sign a player, a lot of the time, especially if you're a smaller club, you're trying to get players on 0 wages, young players maybe, and you go to loan them, and their manager will come back to you and say, hey, I need this guy to play as a trequartista or else. And you go, look, mate, I'm not playing with a trequartista. What about if I just play him as an attacking mid, or that position, no roles. And then they go, okay, but then we want you to pay money, which is a bit of a dick move, in all honesty. But also, I just don't think that's realistic. We're supposed to be going for realism here. Jurgen Klopp. He's having it. I'm not going to do a German accent. Jurgen Klopp. Let's say Watford, one of Liverpool's players, and so Roy goes up to Jurgen and says, "Hey, look, can we load in Divock Origi?" That's not bad, actually. And I just don't think that Jurgen Klopp's going to say to the guy, "Yes, you can have Divock Origi. We'll organise the wages. Don't worry about it. We'll do that. But I need you to play him as a pressing forward on support, or else." I don't think it's that cut and dry to roles. I think, Jurgen would like to play him up top, and managers loan players to clubs that play a certain way because that suits their style or whatever. But just how crazy obsessed they are with what role that player should play, and if you're, God forbid, you're not playing. Like this guy here, Alberti, right? I promised to play him because I didn't want to have to pay his wages as a trequartista, right? And he's played about 3 games of that, and he's played about 20 of other roles, mainly attacking midfielder. And he's been brilliant for me, banging in goals, banging in assists. Great. You'd think their boss would be delighted. No. Every month I've had to battle him to try and keep hold of this player, to say, look, he's playing loads. He's great. I just think that is a way too rigid, having these little roles and stuff. I just think and it's just an annoyance that you have to deal with continuously. I don't mind if a manager comes to you and says, look, he's not playing enough, when you agreed to play him. That makes sense. But saying, oh, he's playing an attacking midfielder and not a trequartista, I'm recalling him, just seems stupid. So the second one I would remove, and this is not so much of a realism thing, just as a personal annoyance, an annoyance for many of you, especially if you like to manage in the UK, and that is work permit rules. It's just not fun. And at the end of the day, despite everything else and it being a simulation, I'm playing a video game for fun. And I would like it. Maybe have it like, at the beginning of when you set up the game, or an option where you can untick or tick it or whatever to say no work permit stuff. Because I just don't find that fun. One of my favourite things is taking youngsters and seeing, developing them. But you just can't really do that at any lower level because they need to have like under 21 caps or plus, all that sort of stuff. So you never end up, they're too good to join your smaller team. So you end up really struggling. And I really enjoy that part of the game, finding random countries with random youngsters that you can just chuck in and stuff like that. And if you removed it, it would be the same for everyone. So it's still fair, right? Okay, but I know that's more of a personal one, but there you go. We did have a few suggestions for just removing Man United for the game. I almost put that in the list, but no, that's just me being bitter. Right, okay, on to the next one. So the third thing I'd like to get rid of, and I know many of you might disagree with this, I think it's time to get rid of the giant beach ball and the picnic table. I know. Stop writing your angry comment, okay? I know it's as much of a Football Manager thing as the football at this point. I just feel like we should have moved on from that. I'd also not like to see palm trees in the background of my stadium when I'm managing in Iceland. Stuff like that. Especially like 240p like 15 pixels worth of a tree. That whole area, like, I know stadiums must be hard and they can't copy each stadium, and that's fine. Just make some stuff that's realistic, not like blocked out car parks with a garage door that only leads onto the field, nowhere else, or shops that nobody can get to, you know, random picnic benches, the giant beach, all that stuff. Maybe just refresh that, and this is something that's been a pet peeve of mine for ages, because I just think, you know, when looking at the game and you see all these random things, it just takes you out of the immersion a little bit for me. And I really don't think it's a big job to just get some new 3D assets in. I've watched enough of Corridor Crew to know that wouldn't be hard. I think you could get you could buy these assets, like, it would be a tiny little job, and I think improve the immersion of when you're watching a game, when you see your stadium. I think it would just be a huge improvement. So the third thing I would love to talk about getting rid of is this, my opinion, stupid transfer value thing. Now, I think this was introduced for one reason and one reason alone. The continued how do I describe these people? Silly people that think because a player is valued at £5 million, that's roughly what they should pay. But as been explained, and anyone with half a brain should realise that, let's say you bid for Man United's 16-year-old kid, like he's a really good youngster, and you bid £5 million for him, right? That might be more than his value, or it might be his value, or whatever. But Man United think, hang on, this guy's really good, we don't want to sell him. Hey, if you want to give us stupid money, if you want to give us 60 million, go for it, right? Because they would accept that, right? So all that is just them saying, no, I don't want to sell him. But if you want to go crazy, if you're Newcastle, you can pay £100 million for him. So I don't think that's that complex to understand. But I think I've seen so many of those comments that maybe they did this, but then it still doesn't matter. There are so many players that I fully scouted. I can see the transfer value. I've asked the agent and he suggested the same thing. And then I've gone, okay, well, I can afford 650, which is the max on this guy. You go to bid and they say 15 million. To me, that's more confusing than if it's just like 2 million and then they said 15 million. Because this giving a range really suggests I should be able to get him for that much. And also, fully scouted, this guy is valued, or I could get him for between 65 and 650 grand. Now, 65, obviously at my team, we've got no money, so that would be unaffordable. For a smaller team, you might be going, yeah, we can afford 65, 100k. On the other end, 650 might bankrupt us. So it doesn't really help that much. They're all off. And when sometimes I just want to look at the most valuable players and stuff, I'm like, okay, is he the most valuable player? And some of the ranges I've seen have been absolutely ridiculous. Like, even just down hit, it's a lot easier at, I think, higher level to sort of get a better idea, because when you're up into the millions, 6.6 to 10 million seems, okay, that's a nice range, that's fine. But when you start getting into sort of players that us smaller teams are interested in, that's a massive difference. That 14k or 140k could be all of your money in your bank. It could bankrupt your club. I just think it was fine before, and I think this is worse because it's almost trying to indicate you will be able to get hold of this player between 16 and 150k, which is just not true. Which is fine, because some teams want to keep hold of it. But when you give a bracket, I feel like it focuses you onto it. When it was 20 million, that was his value, I knew that, like all the websites that clubs use and all the statisticians and all the sports folk and everybody uses, like Transfermarkt and all those others, they give you a figure. We know that it's not an exact figure. We know that teams can come in and they might not want to sell, so they might double that, right? Supply and demand, okay? I just hate it. I just hate it. Me personally, I know a few people do like it, but I think I'm on the majority here. Let me know if that's in your 5. I just think it's completely unnecessary, and actually, I'd be more confused if I was a new player coming in, saw this, but then couldn't get the player for this. And maybe you can just have it set so, just have a transfer value, one figure, and then what you do is, let's say, and it might even, maybe I haven't read the text for ages, but let's say you put in a bid for Man United's £5 million youngster, and they come back and say 100 million. Maybe, I don't know, is there any text that says, hey, We just don't want to sell this guy. But, you know, if you really want to go for it, 100 million. Give us 100 million to maybe explain it a little bit better for the people that don't understand that this is not, you know, the price tag. This is a guide. But like I said, just hate it. I've always hated it, still hate it, haven't got used to it, don't like it. So there's one thing in Football Manager that's, I think it's been there a few years. Let me know if you know when this happened. And it might be the only thing in Football Manager that there is no use for. There is no point to existing. I don't know if you've worked it out yet. I just can't. Even the most in-depth player, I feel like, would never need to see this stuff. And that is the job centre. Why do I need to know that Burnley are after a technical director? I find it weird. And obviously you can get rid of all these things, and just because obviously you just want to look at managers, right? Every time. You know, fair enough, international club reserves, that's cool. Nations, good. Love that. Filters. I just don't see why all these jobs, I don't need to know who needs a physio. Because I'm not a physio. This would be great if it was some sort of physio manager 2022 and I could go and see which jobs were available. Fantastic. Maybe these are all failed DLCs that they were going to come out with various different job simulators. And also, another little fun part about this is it likes to reset itself. Right? It enjoys resetting itself occasionally. And when you've got a lot of databases loaded, there's quite a lot of jobs available. And let me know, well, if you want a head physio job in Colombia, you're sorted. Let me know if there's any need for this. There might be a niche thing that I've not thought about. So I'd love to know if any of you used any of this for anything other than looking at managers. It's just bonkers. Right, there are my 5 things. Like I said, some of them are just personal, the way I play the game I would like improved. Like people were suggesting sort of getting rid of the press conferences and stuff. And although I do none of those things, I let my assistant do all the press conferences and everything. I don't mind seeing it. That's a realistic thing. I don't mind seeing it in my inbox, what stupid stuff my assistant manager said and everything like that. Like, another thing, sound seems pointless, but just turn it off. That's fine. Like, if people that want to use it can use it. They could do a lot more with it, but that's fine. So in the comments below, give me your 5 things that you would get rid of. Like I said, they can be useful for everyone to get rid of and just things that aren't very good in the game, or just personal things that really, really annoy you. Right, thank you very much for watching. We're back next week with a new season of The Journeyman. I'm not sure where I'll be. This is my current Monza save, where we've been heroically staying up despite being heavily in debt, heavily over wages. We can't fix it. And we're just sort of surviving by losing loads of players each season. It's great fun. We're having a lovely time. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.